to the Real Water Cooler Talk Shows on YouTube. I am Trevor, joined by both Matts, and we have a massive show in store for you guys today. Texas is in the college football playoff, won the Big 12, facing Washington in the Sugar Bowl. So we're going to be talking about all that. We still have to touch on kind of the Big 12 championship game. So we're going to start with that before venturing into the whole playoff selection and then the Washington preview and prediction. So lots to discuss. We will have time codes or time stamps in the description for this one, since I'm anticipating it'll be a long episode. And some of you guys might want to skip ahead, which is totally cool. So yeah, we'll get going. But before we get started, as always, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're new here, welcome. I anticipate there's probably a handful of new people watching this show, at least so we're hoping. So thank you guys for checking it out. Before we even get into the Big 12 championship game, we want to celebrate this moment. I mean, we've been doing Texas Platinum for 5 years. When just speaking for myself, when both of these fine gentlemen and Thomas, who's not online, but still very much part of what we do here, when I got brought on, it was going into the 2019 football season, so 5 years ago. And it was right after, Texas won the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. And we felt really good about this team. And we felt like 2019 was going to be a season very similar to what this season, 2023, became, like a one-loss, win the Big 12, make it into the playoff. And it wasn't that. And for 5 seasons, we've been doing this show and have not even really sniffed anything close to the season that we've had now, which is ironic because, this has been our least active we've ever been on YouTube. So yeah, as soon as we dip off a little bit, Texas actually does well. So you know what? It's been a lot of painful shows, a lot of bad not bad discussion, but tough discussion and controversy and stuff like that. So, we wanted to do a little toast just to celebrate all the tough times we've been through and everything like that. So cheers to everyone.
I think it's funny, you talking about like some of the past shows and the amount of like cope of my all of us, but like personal, like UT cope of me, like that is on the internet is kind of jarring now that I think about it. But a moment like this makes it all worth it, man. We have every Google Doc we have has some kind, like in the beginning of it had some kind of label expressing our desire to get to the natty or some kind of goal. And like every year you'd be like, all right, next Google Doc.
Yeah.
Just put that one away. But this time it actually came true. And the year that I was least skeptical about it, just because I thought maybe we needed more time to gel, or I was just been more patient with this staff's process more than anyone else's. But I am more than pleasantly surprised. I am ecstatic. It's been a long time coming. We look like the team we knew we could always be. It's a real beautiful moment, and I'm glad that I'm still able to do this despite how life has gotten so busy for all of us. It's a passion project of ours. It's gonna be with us forever. I hope it comes in waves. I hope to finally get out of school so I can dedicate more time to like my setup a little bit more and get out of my mom and dad's house. But I'm glad we're still doing it. It's like my last connection to like the 40 acres. I used to do this in a friend's apartment and over there, and life took us different places. Didn't think it was gonna work out at times, but here we are. We're in the natty, and I'm glad. What's crazy is like I think of like guys like Christian Jones that are in that Revolution 18 class,
Yeah.
and like
Jalen
I think it
Ford.
might be only him or Jay Witt was in that class. I don't remember. Just the fact that like some of these guys on the roster, at least the older guys, have been through it like us, and I think that's a nice little part of the story. So very excited. The happiest I've ever been as a UT fan.
Yeah, guys, it feels very surreal. I mean, we've just been kind of, jaded, tortured, not tortured, but we've had it hard like the last 13 years as Texas fans, and this year it's just like it just kind of feels like this team just won't lose. Like you're very confident whenever you watch this team go out, kind of like when you had Vince Young. It's just like I really don't think this team's gonna lose. So it's just been a really rewarding thing to watch. I feel like it's just it feels surreal. So and the fact that we've done this show a lot less, like you said, is kind of ironic and funny. And maybe we should keep doing it. Maybe we were the curse all along.
Right.
But whenever we hired Sark, man, there were a lot of skeptics out there, myself included. I wasn't really like hating on it. I was just kind of like, I just didn't know. It's like Sark, it's like coordinator, we'll see. And just to see how Sark's like beautifully built this program. And it's not even just this team, it's just really like we could see it coming with just the way he was building the program. It just felt so much healthier and different. And it's just like a rock solid foundation. And I think it's built to last, which is like the most exciting thing about it. Obviously, the stars aligned this year with the schedule being a little bit light and the veterans we have. But I think we'll be around for a while. And I think it's really cool that we're doing this in our last year in the Big 12 and with the SEC jump. If we were to win the Natty this year, if we beat Washington and then hopefully beat Bama or Michigan, that'd be like the coolest story ever. Like the national champions joining a new conference, joining the SEC the following season. That like target on our back would be turned up a notch times a million. So it'd be so fun to watch. And either way, the season's been a huge success. But this team is so good that like anything short of a natty now, I think will be a disappointment. I think we can do it, which makes it even more exciting. It's not like we're just here just to take
No,
part in the
yeah,
playoff like teams in the past, Cincinnati, Washington in 2016, Michigan State, all those teams. We're not one of those teams. We have a legitimate chance. So that makes it so exciting. And we'll see New Year's how the team handles it. But I was telling my friends like I don't know if we're going to win against Washington, but I know that if we would have played the following week after Oklahoma State, like we would have beaten anybody in the country. So the layoff may hurt us, but I feel like we're playing our best ball right now, and it's awesome to see, man. It's awesome to see. So very thankful as a Texas fan to experience this finally. We earned this one, guys.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Let's transition then into talking about the Big 12 title that Texas won. That feels good to say. Again, so long that, it's been what, 14
Oh
years?
nine, dude.
Yeah, since we can actually be able to say that. And yeah, glad that it happened as we were leaving. Because once we get into SEC, not that it can't happen, it'll just be a lot harder. So to finally get that monkey off our back and be able to say that we're conference champs, I think is a massive deal. Both Myers and I were at the game. Again, we went separately. So we just kind of want to share our experiences. Myers, what was it like for you? Because for me, I went to the Big 12 title game in 2018 when we played Oklahoma and lost. Felt very different. And I'm curious if you feel the same, because I think both of you guys were actually there.
Yeah, man. I think I know what you're gonna say. I think it felt like a coronation, a
Yeah.
celebration of a team like in Texas, like this, the fans, the team. I don't think they ever really had a thought in their mind they're gonna lose that game. It's just how pretty can we make it for the committee, and you could feel that in the stadium whenever it kicked off. Like Texas was just rolling, and it was electric, man. I love Jerry World. I hadn't been since I was there in 2018, but I was also there in 2009 with Indomitian Sioux, where we lost, or we won actually, but it felt like we lost in Nebraska. So I've been to the three Big 12 titles we've had there, and yeah, I felt way different, like you said, Trevor. Shout out to Oklahoma State. They traveled very well. It was like half and half. I didn't expect that, but they filled that thing up, even though I'm sure they were pretty sure they were going to lose that game, but they still showed up. But no, man, it was awesome. I had a great time. Texas Live after was a movie. Shout out Steven from Fanatic Perspective. We were over there watching the Bama Georgia game after
Oh, nice.
celebrating. Yeah, I was like, that was a great day, man. So it was so fun. And just to see the team play so well in that setting was awesome. You know, whenever they were doing the national anthem with that, whoever it was, I don't know, some country singer, Warren Ziders, I think. And they're just like showing like all the team lined up, like Ant Hill, Quinn, Sark, like, you know, the slow-mo shots, like Super Bowl type lead up. That
Mhm.
was like really awesome thing to see. It's just like, wow, you came a long way, man. Like when you're in moments like that, you know your team's really good and they earned it. So it was an awesome special college football setting. And then obviously the Yormark part was funny too, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it was awesome, man. I had a great time. A great last Big 12 title. Hopefully next time it'll be in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so different for me because, 2018 came into the game. I was telling my friend that I went with a few friends, but one of which I sat with, and I was telling him, I was like, this feels so different because in 2018, I was so nervous at that game and it was like so tense. And I'm like, why did I feel so nervous? And I realized it's like, up to that point, as a Texas fan, I never actually experienced a game with like real stakes, 2018, you finally had it. It was like, okay, you win this and you win the title, you lose this and you lose. And yeah, it was a closer game, I think, in 2018 than what the final score was, but it was a very tense game. This coming in, like you just said, it definitely felt like a coronation. Like there really wasn't any doubt, I don't think, in anyone's mind, which is kind of, I think that's a testament to where this program has come because I don't think you could ever say that about any game, even if you're playing like Kansas or Iowa State, it's like, oh gosh, we might lose this. But the way that this team has closed off the season so strong and doing so well. And Oklahoma State, yeah, they've been pretty up and down, and I don't think they're that great of a team, but they still made it to the Big 12 title game, and had um uh, a Doak Walker Award winner at running back. They weren't like a slouch either. But obviously we handled business, made them look pretty inferior. Um, you know, Ollie Gordon, I don't even think cracked 50 yards running, and he was the one talking mad shit the whole game. So it was pretty great. I mean, a lot of a lot of big plays, highlight moments. I'm glad that we're able to kind of rest and recuperate after that game because there seemed to be a few injuries and stuff of that nature. So um yeah. Madrid, what did you think? Obviously you saw it from the
Yeah.
TV.
So yeah, what I remember from 2018, and you guys both said it, like you're nervous, you're uncertain. I mean, for all of us, it was the first time we had a outside of OU any kind of meaningful game.
Right.
I'm kind of sick to my stomach that like
It's a little
for a
bothersome.
for a decade plus, the biggest game was like the fifth game of the season, and that's as good as it got for us. Like that does not make me feel good, like at all. But anyways, what felt different was the fact that uh, we went into the game being clearly the better team. And every game that we've been in, we've arguably been the better team, or at least you can make a sound argument that we are the better team. Even with Washington, like they have sides of the ball that are better than us, sure. But like if you want to make the argument that we're the better team, that's more than possible. In the past, and especially in that 2018 game, we all knew we weren't better than an OU team. No way, not even close. Those were NFL guys on every level of that offense. Maybe in the defense, maybe not the defense, but like that didn't matter. That offense was otherworldly, and we were just lucky to be there. And if you remember how we got there, it was like I forgot we had a better, like West Virginia had a better record than us, but we had the better conference record, and it was like a tie or something like that. I forgot what it was, but I remember there was even controversy for us even getting in. So like we were just happy to be there, and we were just lucky to be there. So we were the scrappy upstart trying to make some noise. Fast forward to the 2023, and
yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous for every Texas game. That's never gonna go away. But back my mind, I'm like, we're the better team, man. Like we are the better team. We dominate inferior opponents. At least this year, we have dominated inferior opponents, and I think you're right when you're saying it was just how much window dressing are we going to put on it, and it felt good to be one of those teams this year. Um, and then with the CFP, like we're not like you gotta put Cincinnati in. They're having a great year. Gotta put TCU in, man. They got a lot of grit. It's like, no. Texas is far like you could say Bama is. I know Bama is a good team and has surged as of late, but you can make the argument Bama is that team this year where it's like, oh, well, I mean, FSU could like there's no question that Texas should be in that top four, by all accounts. Looking back look at the selection Sunday and stuff and all the philosophies and all the stuff people were debating, you really had to make a crazy hypothetical case to keep Texas out of it. Like you had to go with all the hypos. There was like because the resume was just too damn strong. It was too damn strong, and that is something that is remarkable in 3 years under this regime. It is crazy that there's no question at all. And that Big 12 championship just felt like the cherry on top. Like it finally felt like one of those years where it was like, yeah, this one's ours. Like this is how it should be. Like this one's ours. So I think that was the main difference from the 2018 championship. And I'm glad we don't have to play that in Jerry World anymore. That's just I don't like that venue for college football at least. Like I really don't. It's just too sterile. But yeah, hopefully it's in Atlanta, which is crazy to think about. Like that's such a trek. It's gonna be there. Like if we ever make it there, it's gonna be a trek for our fans. But I'm sure we'll make it. But yeah, that's the main difference. And it just felt right. Like they had control over that game throughout the whole time, and it really was Oklahoma State. Like they're doing the PI merchant. You know, let's just throw it deep. Let's see if we can get a flag, which is college ball. You're bound to get one. So, like, when you got a team doing that, and you got the team that's trying to do the whole scrappy thing, and it makes you feel good because that's what you want to be. You want to be the boring favorite. So, and that's what we were. And it's great.
Any quick thoughts before we got to touch a little bit on Brett Yormark, like that's too funny.
Oh yeah, no.
But before getting to that, any other quick thoughts or plays or anything that stood out in the game? For me, it was the amount of trick plays that Sark broke out, which I was like, I wasn't anticipating it because again, clear favorite. We should be able to run away with this game without having to be too fancy. But the second that he did that double reverse to Jatavian Sanders, and then of course the Tavondre Sweat touchdown, I'm like, I see what we're doing here. Like, and this is cool. It's like, okay, like we're making our statement.
Tricks,
yeah. It was more for the committee than to win the actual game, and it paid off. But Myers, anything in particular that stood out for you?
Yeah, I just want to give a few shout outs. Quinn Ewers probably played his best game as a Longhorn. He was dialed in. And that's what we need, like in the playoffs and the Big 12, like in big games, we need Quinn to show up, and he does that consistently now. So hopefully we get more of that against Washington, because when he's on, man, we're like very, very, like very scary. Like it's like nearly unstoppable. So he played awesome. I want to give Keelan Robinson a shout out. That guy's like coming on late. I mean, he's doing everything, like special teams. He's got like 3 or 4 touchdowns the past couple of weeks. It's like a lot. And he's just so dynamic back there. And especially like in this upcoming game against Washington, like they got athletes on Washington. They do, but like not that many athletes compared to us. So like a guy like Keelan Robinson could be like an X factor in a game like that. So him and Jaden Blue, man, those guys have been godsends, filling in without Jonathan Brooks. We really haven't skipped a beat at all because everybody's just picking up the slack. Baxter too. Baxter's running well, especially hope he's healthy. But yeah, defense played great. No, I really don't. It was just a complete performance, man. I was very, very pleased. And again, in a weird spot, Gundy with Alan Bowman. It could have gotten weird, but we never even entertained that. So it was a A+ performance.
Agreed.
All right. Your mark.
He set himself up, bro. He set himself up, bro. Like, I don't feel sorry for that guy.
I anticipated boos. I knew they were coming. All the people that I was with in my section, like we were planning on it. And like even like some of the guys next to me, they're like, we're gonna start chanting SEC whenever whenever he starts talking. Like we knew that was coming. But the amount of boos and everything was hilarious and so great. And it was kind of odd whenever like, I have a bunch of friends that are different levels of Texas fandom. Some, are, as high as we are. Others are like, casual fans that so happen to be watching the game and they're like, what's going on? Why are they booing the commissioner? So that was just, to see him like struggle and look so uncomfortable up there. I felt kind of bad because I'm like, okay, like let's boo him a bit, but at the same time, he set himself up, and great moment, such a highlight.
I mean, if all he got was booze, then I think he got it. Like, he's fine. Like,
It was.
it's all look. If I remember, I think I don't know. I think like in an interview, he was like, "I was just playing to the crowd at Texas, whatever the Big 12 Texas Tech like media part of it," and it's like, okay, sure, but like we're gonna hear that and we're gonna play it up too. So that's where those boos come from. So it's not like a one-sided thing.
Well, and he never apologized.
Like, I was about to say, like,
whoa, never mind. I didn't realize the cameras were rolling.
I mean, what do you expect? You take a stand. You take such a bold stand at the beginning of the year, coming off a year where Big 12 opponents had like one holding call against Texas all year. So Texas fans are already a little jaded about like, we don't get anything. There's evidence of us legit not getting any calls. And then you put that on the table and it's like, is this the same year all over again with that stuff? So no, like I totally get Texas fans' frustrations in that regard. However, I do think it was funny that you had Sark going up there and going, "Everybody, calm down, calm down, calm down." It's like, I don't think you have control over this, Sark. This is a hive mind right here.
Yeah, it seemed to get louder when Sark started trying to calm him down.
Yeah, I know.
But no,
like
I thought
riling him up.
I thought it was funny because when it first started and like the booze started, Yormark was kind of having fun with it. Like he's like, it's all good, like laughing. But then once those SEC chants started going, and then the booze got louder, like his whole demeanor changed. Yeah. He became very stoic.
He got like scared.
Yeah,
he looked like scared for his life.
Yeah, he was stuttering.
Yeah.
I honestly felt a little bad for him. But
I did too.
It doesn't matter. Like he got, as soon as he walked up that stage, he was fine. But in the moment, you could tell his heart was racing. He was uncomfortable. So. But good. I mean, that's the least we could do. Get a little one back at him for just those stupid comments he's made. And I don't think it's a big deal, honestly. I think it's just like, locker room talk, playing to a bunch of Lubbock people. Like, I agree. Like, it's really not a huge deal that he said that in my eyes. It's unprofessional, yes, but I don't think it's like I mean, there might be a conspiracy, but I didn't take it that way. But but yeah, he deserved it. He had it coming. Like, what did he expect to happen? He should have had someone else hand the trophy if he didn't want to take that, because that was going to happen no matter what. So,
yeah. Well, cool. The following day was playoff selection Sunday, and that was awesome. So nerve-wracking. Like, again, this is new territory for us to even like be, on that weekend, having to really care about what was going on. I know that you guys were rooting for Bama. Bama won. I wasn't, because I didn't trust the committee. I know that logic and reason told us that, hey, if Alabama wins, they're in and Texas is in. But I didn't think the committee would do that, because I knew the committee would be high on Alabama and Georgia. And I thought that they'd find some corrupt way of putting both of them in, or putting Bama in and not including Texas. And you can kind of still see that Bama bias right now. I got to be honest, everyone's raving about Alabama. And yeah, they looked good, but also like the week before, they almost lost to a really bad Auburn team. Should have lost to a really bad Auburn team. And we'd be in a very different spot if that happened. But yeah, just kind of give you all thoughts about playoff selection. We get in at 3. FSU doesn't get in despite being undefeated. That was kind of a hot take. I feel like people have one of two different, very, very different opinions as to whether that's a travesty or it makes sense. Haven't really heard y'all's thoughts about it yet, so kind of want to hear that.
Yeah, I can't believe they actually did that with the. I knew we would be in when Bama lost. Like that's the one I really wanted because I trusted them more than Louisville to get that win. But the fact that they let Florida State out is wild to me. Honestly, like I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but like I just didn't think they would have the stones to do that. 13-0, they blew out LSU, they beat Clemson, they won the ACC in spite of a quarterback injury, like pretty comfortably against a top 15 Louisville team.
Yeah.
And they just got kicked to the curb. So that was wild to see. I mean, yeah, if you want to like have the best matchups and competitive 4 best teams at the end of the year, it's probably Bama. But then again, honestly, I think Florida State would have kept it close with Michigan. So I'm not picking a side here, but I just think it's wild they actually did it with Bama, and I'm very excited to see Bama Michigan. I think that's going to be like cinema, of course. But it was just wild, man. When I saw that Bama logo pop up at number 4, it's like, oh man, I feel bad for those people in Tallahassee because if that was us and we were 13-0 and we lost Quinn,
yeah, oh gosh,
I would still be like, I'd be off the grid right now. I'd still be off the grid. So bless their hearts. But hey, I think the committee, I guess they got it right in terms of like viewership, and it's going to be a great 14 playoff.
Once Bama beat or Georgia, I was at 95% that we were going to get in because you have on your resume that you beat the SEC champ like by 10 plus, then like you're in, man. Like that's the as much SEC bias is baked in to college football and the college football playoff. Like you have that on your resume, then that's the biggest trump card that anyone had. And in the back of my head, I was like, if this doesn't work out for us, then cancel all out of conflict. Like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter anymore. But thankfully, that stuff still does matter, and it came through. I'm kind of with Myers in the sense like I could see either way. Like FSU, like I see the case either way. Like I really do. And if you look in like the like some of the committees like criteria they do count like injuries, and they do not count, but like they do consider like injuries to major positions and like quarterback, especially quarterback losses, and like they do try to take you as is right there. And I think I have a feeling they use that when resumes come head to head, and it's like, well, this team won't have their star quarterback that they had all year. And I think that's a really tough thing to do, especially your 13-0 Power 5 champion. Like that's tough. Or 12-0. Yeah, 13-0. Like that's tough. Like that you didn't do anything wrong. You actually did everything right and rose above. But I guess that performance that they had against Louisville wasn't entirely inspiring, and I can get that angle as well. Because the last thing you want is like I think the committee hates when they put in like a TCU or like a Cincinnati or was it 2019 Notre Dame or something, and they just get shellacked. I think they actually hate that, and they hate making decisions that result in that, because then it discredits their decision making process. But what I will say is there was a lot of talk of like, oh, they just set a bad precedent of like, undefeated Power 5 team not making the playoff. I get why they did it this year. It makes sense. Next year it's going to 12. This will never be a problem again. They'll never have to make a decision this hard again. So they'll never have to explain it. They'll never have to walk it back. It takes care of itself. This was the year to be like,
to hose someone like this, to be honest with you, to be quite frank, like it's never going to be a problem again. If FSU is 13-0 next year and wins the ACC, the ACC, like they're at least the fifth or sixth seed. You know what I mean? Like everyone, all those two loss teams in the back are gonna be fighting for the scraps. Like I think that it was a major contributing factor that no one's talking about as to why they made that decision. They don't have to defend it after this year. And I think that's kind of crazy. I mean, I was never a fan of 12 team. I was more of like let's do 6 or 8, but like 12 team absolutely just makes this not even a question any like the every Power 5 champion is getting into the playoff with the 12 team championship. Like it's not going to happen. Or I guess really Power 4 now that we think about it, but so I think it's really tragic, and I feel for FSU fans because they're the only ones in the world that feel like this, and everyone else like us can just go on our merry way and be happy. But I just know that we would be pitchforks and fucking and torches outside the committee's office, man, because
Which
they
is in
did
Texas.
everything right. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's gonna get 10 times worse than just pitchforks then. Yeah, I feel for them, man. I feel for them. They didn't do anything wrong. Who did I actually thought that I forgot who else was. I didn't think Bama was gonna get in. Who did I think I thought it was gonna be? I don't remember. I know I had a feeling Georgia was done in the water because like resume wise, no conference championship, no big time win, and there's no resume for Georgia. And I'm not the type to do like, well, they were the 1 seed last year. It's like resumes are resumes, man. No conference champion, no good win. You're compared to everyone else. That is, I would have put in FSU or just based off of resumes because I think you need to at least. I mean, it changes throughout every year because I know TCU didn't win their conference championship, but like it was different. They were the 4th seed was freaking Cincinnati, so I think I just think what was I going with this? I just think it's in years like this when you have such strong Power 5 like champions, like you need to have it, and that's why I wasn't too worried about Georgia. I think was it no, when Oregon lost, I think it was over. I don't know. I was surprised that FSU got left out, and I think it's a little sad.
Yeah, I think ultimately what it came down to, they keep saying the Jordan Travis injury, and I think that's obviously part of it. I don't think that was the deciding factor. I think it was those last couple games where they were just very inept on offense. If they continued and looked even just decent, they just looked decent in their conference title game, I think they would have gotten in.
Well, if they had their second stringer, they would have been a lot better. Like if they had this, because they're on their third string freshman, so like that's tough, man.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was tough to see, and obviously feel bad for them, but like you guys, I'm kind of in agreement where I see both arguments seem valid to me. I don't kind of funny that none of us are like, I think it's more the get off my lawn guys that are like, this is a travesty to the sport, that don't even see the logic whatsoever.
But someone's gonna lose out, man. Like there's 4 spots. Like I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Like,
well, and that's where the fault of the playoff is in the first place. Is why do we only have 4? I think 8 would be perfect. Personally, I think 12 is too many, but we can continue that conversation another time. But
agreed.
Texas made it in. Exciting moment for us, and definitely another kind of landmark moment in the past 14 years for this program. So on to Washington. All right, so now comes the time of the show that you are probably waiting for. Texas versus Washington. Let's break it down and give our predictions at the end of that. Myers, I'm going to hand it off to you. Kind of give your overview on what this Washington Huskies team is. Obviously, very talented, high scoring, and undefeated.
Yeah, 13-0 and 20-game winning streak dating back to last year, and we were part of that in the Alamo Bowl last year. But Kalen DeBoer is really doing an incredible job, not just here but Fresno State. Like his overall record is like 103-11 or something crazy, highest winning
Wow.
percentage in college football. And when you watch them, it's he's one of the coaches that you see like that's a well-coached team. Like it's you have to you're not going to out scheme DeBoer very often. Sark might be able to, but most coaches won't. And that's a scary thing. And then combine it with the weapons they have, especially on offense. I mean, when you see Washington as our matchup, like you're like, okay, it's Washington, but like on the one hand, like yeah, we might have more talent pound for pound than they do, but on the other hand, like stylistically, it's a bad matchup for us just because their identity is just going deep with those big receivers and chunk plays and not really air raid, but it appears like air raid. They just have a lot of success through the air with O'Dunes, McMillan, and Polk and others. And they got a good running back too, and a great O line. I mean, they won the Joe Moore Award like today or yesterday for which means best O line in the country. Parker Brailford, I think, is their center. Who that guy versus Sweat and Murphy in the middle is going to be cinema as well. Uh, he's not a huge guy, but I mean, I feel like when you're in the trenches, especially in the interior, like sizes and everything, it's more about leverage and I mean, anyways. But defensively, that's where we can have some success, I feel like, or at least against their defense, because they really have a pedestrian defense. I mean, it's not bad. It's above average, but especially like passing on this defense, we should have a lot of opportunity there. They do have Jabbar Muhammad on the back end and Dominique Hampton. Those are good DBs. And they do have an edge rusher returning. The name is escaping me, who's a very good player. They're getting healthy like we are, so they're getting some guys back. So they're going to try to be back to early season form against us where they were just rolling teams, like kind of like how we're trying to do now is just get healthy, which is like kind of a scary thought because they looked like the best team in the country by a mile the first month of the year. But over the course of the season, they started playing a lot of close games against Pac-12 teams. Like there were a lot of moments where I was like, dang, they nearly lost to Arizona State, they nearly lost to Washington State, nearly lost to Utah, and you watch these games and these are like broke teams they're playing. Like these are not good, like they're okay. Like they're solid middle of the road Pac-12 teams, but that's not the team we're gonna get. I mean, they look great in the Oregon rematch. They kind of dominated that game, and no one gave them a shot. So, Michael Penix Jr., of course, I haven't mentioned him, but he's a surgeon. He's literally a surgeon. He throws some of the prettiest passes in college football, and when he gets hot, it's kind of like Quinn. It's like you're kind of cooked, man. Like you can't really do much about it, especially with those receivers. So we really need to make sure that we do all we can, whether it's Ant Hill, guys off the edge, Sorrell, or Murphy on the interior, just making them don't let them get in that rhythm. And I think that's going to be obviously the message of PK and Bo Davis throughout the prep for the game. But yeah, Washington's a good team, man. This is going to be fireworks for sure. It's going to be quite the contrast from Bama, Michigan in the Rose Bowl. So we'll see, man. I can see this game going many different ways. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Um, just want to say Washington has been that team since the get go, man. I remember watching them at the end of last year when Penix really started heating up. He had a good season last year, but he really started heating up towards the end there. And I remember him being in Indiana and all the close games he was playing against those Big Ten teams. Just remembering like this guy can play at every level. This guy can play at any level. And going into this year, I was looking at their team and I was like, it's the same guys, and they're all NFL level caliber level receivers out there. And then Penix is going into his last year, like in the Pac-12 with flopping around USC and Utah team that
plays up but plays down sometimes, without a Cam Rising. And it really was just kind of written in the stars for them. The one thing that really strikes me a lot is every game we go into, we have the best skill players. And it might be reversed this time, not by a lot. I wouldn't say like they're that much better, but like Odunze and Polk and McMillan really know how to stretch a field and really know how to their route concepts. You know, they're never around each other. Like they're always this the space they make around each other with the route concepts are really really special. They're a tougher team than some might know. Some people see Pac-12 and just see finesse, and it's not really that true. They play tough, but we play tough too. So I think that's a good matchup and mentality that we'll see for sure. They did win that O-line award, which I thought was a little okay. Sure, we'll see how that goes. I'm not hating, but I will say Oregon struggled to get pressure. And some moments, some key moments in that Pac-12 championship game, and anyone, a lot of not anyone, but a lot of quarterbacks look extremely well when you have a lot of time for your NFL receiver to get open 50 yards down the field, and you just sling it to an open spot. That's good football. I'm not saying that's not good football, but that's football that may not always be there against stronger defensive fronts. But I think that's important for us going in this game to really hammer that front, because our weakness is the back end, man. And it's with Derek Williams serving a suspension for the first half or a bullshit targeting call. Bullshit. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just that's football, man. Come on. But regardless, that's our weakest. I mean, we got vets back there. Thompson, I ragged on him all year, but he's come up strong when he needs to. But they're all susceptible back there to becoming a pumpkin, man. Like straight up. I mean, you got Catalan, who decides to leave us right before this, which is odd in itself. But I heard he wasn't really meshing well, and he wasn't really playing down the stretch after his injury, anyways. Derek Williams was taking a lot of those reps, so we're gonna go in there with Keaton Crawford, Jaron Thompson, and half of Derek Williams, which is like serviceable, but like it's not like ideal against this type of
Michael Taft.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, I love my boy, but I've seen him around a corner. It's not the fastest thing I've ever seen. I mean, we got guys that I think with our back end, I think we got guys that know how to play in position and get themselves into spots where they can take advantage. But when it's like full on straight line, like you got time to cover someone, yikes, man! Like we're still missing stuff right there. So we'll see how that goes. I do think we're gonna give them their first big test of a dose of D lineman front seven in your face type of football. Like I do think we'll be the best that they'll come across. So that's something they'll have to deal with. I don't like to come across as like, oh, we got to watch out for them. They got to watch out for us still. We still do things at a very high level. And I think it's on paper a really fun matchup, especially in the Sugar Bowl. That's so nice. At least for us, we don't have to travel so far either. It's a de facto home game for us. Well, I wanted to touch on one other thing, I think. Oh no, I did. But overall, Washington is a team that's deserved to be there since day one, and then they're one of those teams where they knew they deserved. It's right there with Michigan, that 1 and 2 spot. Like they knew from day one, like they were gonna be there. So you got to contend with that mentality too going into this game. They're not gonna lay down. They work too hard for this. Just kind of like us. But I think our weaknesses match up poorly for them, but I think our strengths have the ability to make up for it because they kind of complement each other a little bit in that regard. So it's key that we get in Penix's face. I've seen him make mistakes when he doesn't have time, He holds the ball for a long time. He could run, like he could scramble, he's mobile, but he really wants to stay in that pocket as long as possible and wait for Odunze, Polk, or McMillan to streak to a corner and beat someone on some kind of deep crosser or something. That's what he really wants to do. And if we can make him make a mistake, make him make mistakes by rushing that, then I think that's something that's more than doable. But hey, it's a hell of a matchup. We get a nice Alamo Bowl rematch. So that would be fun.
Yeah. It's funny when Texas got selected for the playoff, this was like the one team. I mean, I guess Alabama, but even then, this is like the one team that I didn't want to face. Because yeah, like you said, their offense definitely does not favor the strength of our defense. Being such a good run stopping team for us. In our secondary being a little suspect. And this is the number one passing team in the country. So pretty big mismatch there. However, what I do like about our defense versus their offense is kind of what I just said. I think that, our line and our front seven is so much better than anything that they've have faced this season. I think that we have a good opportunity to make their offense very one-dimensional. And while that can get you points, I don't think that can win you a game. At the end of the day, even if Washington has a lead or is in a close game, they're still going to need to be able to run the ball with Dylan Johnson, who's come on a little bit more lately and has looked better. However, and their offensive line, as we just said, I still think at this point, I'm so confident with our run defense, though. Like, not that I guess the good thing is in the playoff, we don't have like a Derrick Henry or, like some great running back that we have to face. I don't think there really was a fantastic running back this season in college football, at least to that level, But still, I think that even with Johnson looking better as of late, Texas can be able to really kind of stifle their run game, and probably some of their intermediate pass game too. I think our corners are, I know we're talking a lot about our safeties, but I think our corners, Jahdae Barron and Ryan Watts, I believe, is set to return back to health. Is that right?
We should have all our. The last thing Sark said was the X Watts and the rest are progressing well. They're not fully healthy right now, but
Yeah,
from what that means is by the time New Year's comes around, we should have all the horses.
they got to have great games, I think, and I think they will, because I think that those are probably our most talented secondary players. Our safeties, we'll see. The thing I like about our safeties is we have been pretty opportunistic with getting interceptions as of late, these past few games. Like I kind of jokingly said earlier with dang, why am I blanking on his name all of a sudden?
Taff.
Taff, yeah, with Michael Taff. He's been pretty good at, getting picks and turning over, taking advantage of turnovers this season. And then Keaton Crawford had a fantastic pick in the Big 12 title game. I don't believe that, Derek Williams has had his interception yet. Malik Muhammad, I feel like, has had an interception or two. I know that he's battling a bit of an injury. I'm assuming he'll be back and good to go. So I think our secondary is starting to step it up late in the year. So I'm feeling better about that. But ultimately, what it comes down to is, like I said, I think making Washington one-dimensional is key, and I think we'll ultimately be able to keep Texas very close in this game. Offensively, I think that our offensive line and run run offense will actually kind of prove to be something that I think gives Texas control in this game. Since I do want to let you guys be able to speak a bit about our offense a little bit more. Myers Madrid, any thoughts on that matchup? Since obviously right now, the big talking point for not just us, but literally anyone that talks about this game is Washington offense versus Texas defense. I want to hear the other side of that from you guys as well before we go into predictions.
Right. I think the reason that Texas is kind of the consensus favorite to win this game narrowly is because our offense against their defense. I mean, they're especially running the ball on their defense. Their run defense isn't spectacular, and their secondary is definitely not spectacular. So the theory is that Texas can be able to sustain drives, and if they get a lead, be able to lean on them and run some clock. Whereas if Washington gets a lead, they're not really built to slow the game down and run some clock and lean on you. They might, they might put it together. They have some dudes. They can play like a one-off great game, I'm sure, in the trenches. But Texas is built to do that way more than Washington is. And I think Quinn's gonna have a lot of success on their secondary, especially with just the way that he's playing recently and Xavier being healthy. Jatavion played great against Oklahoma State. I think, and of course, 80 Mitchell, playoff 80 Mitchell, like that's going to be a spectacle. So I think it just lines up well for I think our offense is going to score pretty much every time we get the ball. I truly believe that, or at least get a field goal or something, move the chains. So it comes really down to our defense, like we're going back to. But no, I think we'll have a lot of success. I don't know. I'm curious to see if Sark wants to try to have more balanced game plan where he runs the ball quite a bit early on, or if he's just going to try to open it up and just take the top off. Because I could see it going both ways. So I think it'll be kind of a wait and see type approach in terms of that, like the pitch counts to the running backs and stuff. But yeah, I think that's going to be where we're going to win the game at. Is defense just needs to make a few stops here and there, a few turnovers. I feel like make Penix uncomfortable, but this game's going to be won by our offense leaning on them and sustaining long drives and putting up points, in my opinion.
I think right now the way Quinn's playing, I don't think there's a secondary in the nation that can really hold him, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Especially with Sark in his back pocket. The great thing about Sark is you never really have to make a tough throw. The throw's there for you, and if you can make that throw, then you look spectacular. Quinn is a surgeon right now. I mean, for all intents and purposes, like we bash him for his deep ball game, but it has gotten better throughout the season. And while still not perfect and probably not to the level of like Penix, but Penix is a grown man, in terms of his development, Quinn can pick apart an offense, and I do think I like where we're at right now in the national media coverage of like. It's about Washington's offense and our defense. Like that's the main talking point. Yeah, go ahead. Let's have Quinn and X and AD and JT and our running backs and O line. Like, let them be like the one no one's talking about. I mean, you got to think about it. Pretty quietly, Texas is in the national championship, or excuse me, not yet. Is in the college football playoff. Like, I don't like. They were making we're back jokes no less than 13 months ago. Like, right. But Texas quietly took care of business, and it's more about FSU. It's more about Washington. Like Texas just did their job and they were in, right? Ultimately for the offense, and I'm probably just gonna piggyback on what on Myers said because I was thinking about it earlier. Oregon was almost out of that game, in the Pac-12 championship. They were close to being out of that game, and they stormed back. That Washington team is, and what I've seen throughout the year, and how they won, how they won against Washington State, and how they beat Arizona State. Those close ones they had. Granted, we had close ones too, but talking about them.
is was always about the offense. What can the offense do to get us out of that? And I think that's always something to consider when talking about these matchups. It's like who has won, what part of the ball has won them games before in the past? And you think about Washington, and their defense is not winning them any of those games. And rightfully so. You have Penix and a stable of NFL receivers back there. Texas has won games with their defense. We've had some close calls. You think about Kansas State. You think about Houston. You think about all those. Oh, what shit! Those were the games without Quinn, right? Like those games were won with the defense, and I think that's a develop. I think that's a narrative that no one really mentions either. On top of our offense being able to, like, as much as I don't like it when we have a lead, we have done a good job this year of like clock management, ball control when we have a lead. We've done, or at least better than past years, aka not giving up leads, right? So I think the less the less we have them on the field and the more we take our time scoring the ball, the better we're going to be. And I think we're more than capable of doing that against this defense. We're the best that they're going to see. Maybe Oregon, I don't know. I'm thinking about it, but they struggle with Oregon. They'll struggle with us too. I don't foresee us. I don't foresee us. I'm not gonna say we're gonna blow them out of the water. I'm not saying that, but I don't foresee us getting bogged down. And I think that's a real key to the game that no one's really talking about, which I think is really interesting. I mean, hell, we got like what, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I haven't heard that narrative just yet. Maybe it'll pop up as we get closer, but that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like Texas and Washington, of the four playoff teams, both kind of have that team of destiny feel, especially Washington. So I feel like something's got to give. But I do like how the dynamic of this being a rematch. The revenge tour that we've been on this season. I feel like the team's really taken that to heart, and they've like made a effort to avenge all their losses from last year, and they've done that pretty emphatically most of the time. And there was someone who mentioned this. I think it was Rod Babers, that whenever they were asking the players, like, do you have any preference on who you want to see in the playoff if you make it? They all said Washington, especially Xavier Worthy, because
Wow.
it's that revenge dynamic. We played a horrible, like, we looked bad in the Alamo Bowl last year. I'm surprised
Yeah.
we only lost by 7, because we felt like we were just getting killed that game. We couldn't do anything offensively, which makes no sense.
Only lost by 7.
Yeah, and Xavier Worthy had like a horrible game, dude. There was like comments like "Go to USC, we don't want you" from like Texas message.
Yeah.
Like it was bad. Quinn played pretty good, but we couldn't run the ball. We didn't have Bijan. I mean, but we were not even close to the same team last year as we were this year. So I think that being in the back of our minds and having that film too will be very helpful for Sark and game planning and PK. And I really think that this team is approaching this. The revenge factor kind of, I think, allows them to kind of dim the lights of the playoff and the lights of the national championship potentially on the horizon, and kind of just focus on this team beat us last year and we need to get that one back. So I like that dynamic in our favor, and we'll see how it plays out.
That's a fabulous point, Myers, because like you just said, both teams definitely have that team of destiny feel to it. I will say though that I want to give Texas the edge on that only because of what you just said, coupled with like Washington has looked really tight in some games this year. Like they have fallen into that category of like sometimes it's harder to be the undefeated team versus a one-loss team, because you keep dreading that one loss that'll eventually come. And they looked very tight, and I think too, like the Apple Cup game, Penix is like, for that last field goal, like he can't even look, and you're like, I mean, nothing against that, players do what they want to do whenever, a game-winning field goal is kicked. Some want to watch, some don't. He definitely did not. But I don't know. I just kind of have this feeling that they, I wouldn't say they looked that way against Oregon, so that's why I didn't lead off with this argument, but I do want to bring it up now that you kind of touched on it. But I don't know. I think they're a little bit tight and a little bit not timid, but more nervous, or playing with more to lose than Texas, which seems to be a little, at least mentality wise, a lot more free flow and um, playing for fun and playing for the love of the game. That's pretty cheesy, but you know what I mean. Versus Washington, that I think is playing not to lose, and in big games like that, that means a lot. And I think that alone is a little bit of an edge. And I mean, we got to mention too. I know it ultimately didn't make a difference too much last year, but Texas will have like 80% of the crowd in New Orleans is going to be Texas, just based on distance. And I don't know much about the Washington fan base in general. My guess is they're not as good of travelers as Texas fans, even if this was like a totally neutral site game where it was like equal distance from each other. So that will be an advantage. I can't say that Washington's, I take that back. I was going to say has played in a difficult environment. They have played in some difficult environments, but it's something. Put it out there. It's something. Any other thoughts before we go into predictions? No? Okay.
No, I think we're ready.
I say, actually, because we do have them written down, we're going to build suspense. We're going to predict the Rose Bowl game first
Nice.
for whoever's getting into the national title, and then we'll do Texas Washington. So who wants to start?
I'll go first. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna be in NOLA. I'm gonna try to get tickets to the game if they drop reasonably, but I'll be in NOLA, and it's gonna be just absolutely beautiful, just like being at the Manning's Sports Bar or wherever we're at, or the Texas watch parties at, watching Alabama, Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and we get the winner potentially for a national championship. Like this is gonna be like a beautiful day. So I'm very excited for that. It's gonna be an all-day thing, and that's like you can like the uniform matchup in the Rose Bowl. Hopefully it's a
Oh,
sunny day.
yeah.
That's just beautiful
Perfect.
vintage college football. There's two blue bloods winningest programs of all time. So that's gonna be great, man. As far as predictions, everybody's acting like Bama's in a roll, and I really want to pick Michigan. I think Michigan's due to beat a team from south of the Mason-Dixon line eventually. Like it has to happen eventually, right? And Bama, yes, they have improved, but they're not the old Bama. Like we see this week to week, like even against Georgia, it didn't impress me like the old Bama teams impressed me. Obviously, they can win the national championship. Obviously, they're very good, but they're not the machine in my eyes that they were 4 or 5 years ago. And Michigan's got a great O line. Michigan's got great defensive line, and they got a good quarterback, good running back room. Just a very veteran NFL-led team. And all they're hearing is, here we go again. They're going to get embarrassed in the playoff by a team from the South, and Harbaugh's in a boat to the NFL. And it's kind of like Ohio State, Michigan over the last few years before Michigan started winning. It's just like Michigan will never beat Ohio State. I feel like that's kind of what that dialogue is now around them in the playoffs against, a big SEC school. So I think it lines up for Michigan to finally put it all together and get one. But I can't pick against Saban. I don't trust Milrow, but I'm taking Bama to win a low scoring game, 21-17. Selfishly, I want Bama in the rematch. I know it makes it harder for us to win the Natty, but because I feel like we would roll Michigan. But I just feel like a rematch against Saban is just like beautiful spectacle of college football. And I know this will be very hard to beat him twice, like nearly impossible. But I just want to see that Texas Bama rematch in Houston. It would just be beautiful. So I got Bama winning 21-17.
I like it. Yeah, they're not the machine anymore. They're just not. They're good. They're good, but they're good. They're good like everyone else is good, if that makes sense. They're in the same tier of good as everyone else. And you can just see it. You watch that Georgia game 3 years ago, they might steamroll Georgia if the Georgia was playing like that. You know what I mean? So I do think they can be had. Um, but I'm not there yet in the sense of like everyone likes to say this is the worst Georgia, this is the worst, excuse me, this is the worst Bama team since 1975. It's like whatever that means. Like they're still 11-1 SEC champs. Like that's not nothing, man. Like if that's the worst it gets, damn. Okay. I think they're in a good spot. I do think Michigan will play them tough though, because they are a tough football team, and I love the way Michigan plays. My little heart loves a good run the football, play action pass, play good defense type of guy, or type of game. I'm still that guy deep down, but I do think Michigan comes up like a touchdown short. Like I think it won't be a blowout either way, but Bama will just kind of out athletic them a little bit or out execute them. So I'll take Bama 28-21 and a really fun game, really interesting game from start to finish. I can't wait to see that uniform matchup on the field too. That's gonna be special, man. So yeah, I like Michigan a lot. I've liked them. Never say never, right? Like just because Ohio State was beating them up for the past decade doesn't mean that lasts forever. Just like us, like these things are cyclical. Like I think we should all understand that. But I don't think Michigan gets it done though. So yeah, Bama 28-20.
Well, we're going 3 for 3 with Bama. And I have them winning pretty convincingly. I am unlike you guys. I am not a big fan of this Michigan team. I don't think they're bad. I still think they're deserving of their number one ranking and everything. I just really don't think they've been tested too much outside of Ohio State, which was a close game that, I think they deserve to win. But I don't know, man. To me, Bama is definitely on a upward trajectory and is playing with a lot of playing with that looseness, kind of like what I said about Texas, being a little bit more free flowing and everything. And I don't know. To me, I think they're due for a loss with the whole Jim Harbaugh and cheating scandal and everything. I don't know. I just think that at some point they're gonna get got. Even if I know that's not a very logical argument, but I just kind of got that feeling. So I got Bama winning convincingly by 2 touchdowns, 35-21. Yeah. Now, Texas Washington, here we go. Who wants to lead it off? I can. How about that? I lead it off. Circle back around to you guys. So I do have Texas winning this game. Pretty close. 34-28. A little bit more low scoring than I think some people are thinking. I think a lot of people are assuming a shootout. I do think that our defense is going to be able to kind of hold them back in under 30 points. And I see this being more of a methodical game than just an all-out high-scoring affair. Just based on the way that our defense has been playing. And also, I think Washington's going to change their approach a little bit too. I don't think they're going to. I could be totally wrong, but I think that they're going to try to be more methodical. And they've had some low-scoring games. It's not like Washington is. I know that they're leading in passing yardage, but it's not like they're leading in points scored or anything like that. At least I don't believe so. So I don't know. I think it'll be more of a a good, nice, even matchup, like I said, but a little bit more of a average scoring affair. So Texas covers the spread, wins by a little less than a touchdown, on to the Natty to face Bama in that rematch, like we said.
Yeah, man, I'll be quick. It's running out of time, but I'm picking Washington. I feel it's like the battered Texas syndrome in me. It's too good to be true, right? Like we're not gonna actually go win a national championship, are we? Even though I feel like we're the better team, I just feel like it's gonna be one of those days where Panics is on fire and we're in it, but we lose a heartbreaker. 39-38, maybe a two-point conversion or something. Washington pulls it out. That's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong.
Tough.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong too, bro. But I totally get that sentiment. I think this game plays out a lot of the same way as the Bama game did. I remember being so freaking nervous, like stomach turning right before, and I know it's gonna happen again. And it's gonna be the same kind of vibe. I do think at one point we pull out like a 10-point lead, but then they come back easily and score. We don't win by 10, but I do have us winning, but like only by 2 points. I have it like 35-33, something around that area. Someone called that a barn burner, but I think that's just what average football is nowadays in the 30s, to be honest with you. I think that's just a good game. So I think that's where we hang our hat on right there. That's gonna be it's gonna be very gut wrenching. I can already tell. I get so nauseous before games, bro. So yeah, give me Texas 35-33.
That's exactly the point that I did not make that I was meaning to make. I see this being very similar to what the Texas-Alabama game was early in this season, where Texas is able to hold on, but it goes very back and forth, but we keep them under 30. So literally exactly that. That's what I foresee. So and that's what I'm hoping happens and not Myers' prediction.
Yeah.
Someone had to do it. Someone had to do it.
Oh yeah.
Someone had to do it.
Yeah. If none of us predicted Washington, then we'd be totally discredited, I think. But
yeah.
Thank you guys for watching, making it this far into the video. Hopefully Texas pulls out a win. Please like, comment, subscribe, all the usual. And Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year, and hopefully Texas gets it done. So horns up, catch you in the next video, and hopefully in the next video, it's a good one.
Yeah, please.
Welcome.